मुल्क आपके हाथ में अमानत है।
हम माए, हम बहने, हम बेटियां, कौमों की इज्जत हमसे है, कौमों की इज्जत हमसे है। हम माए, हम बहने, हम बेटियां, कौमों की इज्जत हमसे है, कौमों की इज्जत हमसे है। हम बानिए मेरो वफा, हम कशमकश, हम इर्तिका, तारीख ने खुद लिख दिया, इनकी इबारत हमसे है।
Take that leap of faith, get out there, make mistakes. At the end of the day, it's better to make wrong decisions than no decision.
मेरा मैसेज है ख़वातीन के लिए कि that they should treat themselves as human being, as a person, instead of confining them in some box of gender.
My young friends, I urge you to never stop dreaming, whatever the odds. Keep after what you want to do.
My message for all the females, they should believe in themselves, should dream big, and they must learn how to achieve it.
बाकी शोबों की तरह पुलिस में भी ख़वातीन मर्दों के शाना बशाना काम कर रही हैं। मैं तमाम खैबर पख्तूनख्वा की ख़वातीन को इनकरेज करूँगी कि वो केपी पुलिस का हिस्सा बने और अपने मुल्क को कौम की खिदमत करें।
औज़ुबिल्लाहिमिनश्शैतानिर्रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अस्सलामु अलैकुम जी आयानू पखैरा गले नी हाउ चुनशुमे वशमले ओहायो गजाइमस गूटे मॉर्गन ओला बोयो प्रीवियत कैफा हाल शुमा चतोरे ahlan व सहलन मरहबा बुना मुचो ग्रासियास स्वाबी और बल्ली करे आया होश के आदे नायो सायो खुया मोरा चीबतो ची हाजत कालिमेरा खैरुतान and very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning alongside my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Haja Satti. I happen to be Shahzad Hasan Khan, and today, ladies and gentlemen, alongside the world, Pakistan is observing International Women's Day, and why not? And I guess that I just cannot keep calm, and it's because of the fact that Haja, I think first things first, okay, because it's International Women's Day, I think I would want you to start. Let's go ahead.
Thank you
Bismillah.
so much, Jazakallah Khair, for introducing me. Since it's 8th of March, it is International Women's Day, and I think we need to celebrate the womanhood, not just in the Pakistan, but globally. And we have seen that so many women have contributed towards this planet we call Earth. And it's not just that the concept of the celebrating womanhood started from, the independence, because we will see that before independence, there were so many women who participated and struggled for the freedom movement. So you've seen the likes of Miss Fatima Jinnah, Miss Begum Liaquat Ali Khan, Miss Waqarun Nisa Noon, and all of these wonderful women who were standing with their husbands, with their men, and they were contributing towards the freedom struggle. And after the independence of Pakistan, obviously, we have seen that they have contributed their part. So, and it's not just that. I think we are very, very glad that this struggle is continuing and it is constantly happening. And we want to celebrate the concept of the womanhood and empowerment, what does it mean. So, without any further ado, we would like to introduce our guests, because there's a very wholesome conversation that we want to have, and how they have contributed their bits and parts in this, the concept of called women empowerment. So we're very glad that we have been joined by first Miss Mehwish Afridi, who happens to be the Deputy Country Director, Hashu Foundation. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Thank you for having me.
And alongside her, we are very glad that we have also been joined by Miss Fatma Anila. She is the head of the Business One Network. Assalamu alaikum, Miss Fatma, and thank you so much for coming to our show. Right. And we're also very glad that we have been joined by another wonderful guest in our studio. She happens to be Dr. Areej Niazi, and she's also the director of the Akbar Khan Teaching Niazi Hospital. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Thank you for having me.
It's wonderful to have you over here, and it's International Women's Day, and so I would like to start with that, how I was able to figure it out that women will always have this innate ability to make sure that maybe their professional careers or maybe their household, they can actually give their 100% every single day. A rich tribute to you guys and to everybody who's out there as well. But very quickly, I think to get my conversation started today, let's kind of reflect upon the theme that we have this year, which says renewing our collective commitment to achieve gender equality, but not just that. When we come to the theme, it's invest in women to accelerate progress. Now, when we are to talk about invest in women, it particularly talks about how we do have health issues over here in our region. Globally, it's the 4% GDP which is being invested for women, and over here in our part of the world, it's 2.9% or probably lower than that.
Right.
Now, when we are to speak about, I think what we really need to kind of consider precisely is that unfortunately, if that health is not being provided or healthcare is not being provided to women, it will actually have a multi-generational impact. So let's get started. How would you highlight the significance of this day, and how do we need to kind of go about it?
Actually, I would like to say that it's not just the health, but it's also the economic empowerment of women.
True.
If both of these issues are not addressed, then, like you said, the effect gets multiplied to the generations, and this ultimately affects the state and the Pakistan's economy on its own.
Exactly.
So if we talk about women, so women are almost 50%, and to be very precise, 48.5% in Pakistan, the population. And when we talk about the economic aspect, so unfortunately women are till date contributing only 1% to the GDP of Pakistan, whereas men, they contribute 21%. Though there's a study by ADB and Samita that says that women's contribution is 4%. But today is a day to talk about the barriers, today is a day to talk about the solutions, how we can accelerate that 4% to 10%, and maybe why not to 21%.
Exactly. Why not 50%?
Yes, why not 50%?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's what I look forward to, alhamdulillah. And meanwhile we're having this conversation, I will always make sure to share some examples which will actually lead us towards having more of inspiration as well. So moving on to you, ma'am. Now obviously where we actually asked her to shed some light on why we need to celebrate this day. Number one, everybody knows that as well. So imagine that if you have manpower or human resource in those terms, and 48% of it not contributing towards the GDP, how economically we can suffer. But right before that, imagine, alhamdulillah, I happen to be a father to 3 lovely daughters. I happen to be a brother to 5 lovely sisters, amazing sisters, alhamdulillah. All of them are working, and alhamdulillah, they have great households as well. How important it is for you to educate your parents that, hey, you know what, we need to do this, we need to get this opportunity, because most of the time, because of the household chores, they are not able to participate 100%, may it be politically or economically. What's your take on that?
Thank you very much, Shahzad, for highlighting a very important point of our society, particularly. So I personally believe that before making women to stand out in their professions or whatever they want to do or whatever they want to achieve, and the dreams that they're looking forward to achieve.
True.
It is very important for us as a society or the people on the helm of affairs to actually educate our men more than women.
True.
Our boys more than girls. So why girls cannot or why parents are very skeptical about sending girls out for the work or letting them do whatever they want to do is mainly because of the safety concerns.
True.
So to address the safety concerns, keeping the girls confined was not the answer. The main requirement is to make your boys, make your men understand that you have to be custodian of the safety of the women
True.
around you. So this is something that when we have a lot of girls working with us in one network, alhamdulillah. So we take it a very important to make sure that in our workplace culture, women who are working, girls who are working in our office, they should feel safe.
Exactly.
So they work till late night as well if that is required, particularly when they are software engineers or the network engineers or the power engineers. They have to go on the ground as well on the motorways to rectify the systems wherever they are required. But we make sure that when they are going, they are safe. So this safety that we are providing them is actually helping them to go out and letting their parents and their families having that confidence that they'll be safe out there.
And in doing so, I think this is also creating a very conducive environment that yes, if you're working late night, especially at the odd hours, so yes, there's a system in place, there's a safe environment in place which encourages other women that yes, we can go out and we can perform. So now let's moving to Dr. Iraj, and since Dr. Iraj, you are associated with the field of medicine, and usually medicine is a field of caregiving or healing, and women are a lot more invested in the field in the area of caregiving and healing, right? But we've also seen, especially especially if we contextualize this conversation in the context of Pakistan, that a lot of people, a lot of malnutrition mothers, they are giving birth to malnutrition children, right? And we've seen since Ms. Mavish talked about that how women are contributing towards the economy. It's 1%, right, according to a study, but there's a lot more labor which is invisible. So if you see
unpaid work,
yes, so if you see in the households, they're also fetching the water, they're also going fetching the firewoods, and they're also at the same time raising their kids and also doing the work in the, I would say, fields out there or in the agriculture, but their contribution is not highlighted very much globally in the GDP or in other contribution, right? So I mean, this burdenizes women a lot, right? So as someone who comes across these such sort of cases every day, what do you think we need to do in terms of, you know, healthcare profession?
Well, I think we need to focus on the women health and promote, like I always highlight the breast cancer campaign that we started, and that raised so much awareness, and not only in the higher classes, it raised awareness in the lower classes as well, and now we see more women coming in to get checkups and on earlier stages. So we need to highlight women health issues at a national level, and you need to have prominent people come forward and work for this kind of thing. I mean, when they were running that campaign and the mobile message that you got, everybody's got a mobile, right? So you know, you reach the masses with that. So for healthcare, we have to do that. If we look at issues, I mean, we have a medical college associated with us. We have 100 students. More than 50% of them are girls, and they're the high merit achievers. But then after you know, getting their education, they don't work. Almost like, I mean, I remember there was an article, the doctor brides of Pakistan. You know, they're being groomed to become somebody's wife, somebody's daughter-in-law.
And that's exactly the kind of conversation which I had with one of my sisters, because she, when she graduated, you know, from Fauji Foundation Medical College, you know, this is something which I asked her, you know, why did you actually do MBBS, you know, if you were just going to be a bride to somebody? And then, you know, I kept on pushing her, and then there was a time when actually it revolutionized the entire family when she started working. Now there's another context to it. I want to come down to that, but before that, ladies and gentlemen, in between, you know, we would certainly love to share, you know, those iron ladies who've actually contributed towards the progress of the country as well. And such is an example of the Federal Secretary for Information, Ms. Shahira Shahid. You know, she's been leading, she's the chairman of the PTVC as well. She has something wonderful to say, and once you guys will come back after that, there's another open house debate that I would love to have with all of these amazing power women over here inside the studios. Let's go, let's take a listen.
I am very proud to be addressing our viewers in 47 different countries. Let me congratulate women today on the Women Day, and also to encourage them to continue the struggle and their service that they are providing to not only their families but are also at the workplace. And I also have a message to give to all the young female population of the country, because we have a youth substantial youth population. I would encourage them to participate in life day and night, and do their best, and there is no field that they cannot enter, and there is no pinnacle that they cannot achieve.
Thank you so much, madam, for leading from the front as well, and you've been instrumental and inspirational for a lot of people over here, may it be men or women. Now let's get that conversation started. Imagine that most of the time what men do is, okay, I know that I'm representing men today as well, but I would certainly want to represent men who are educated, at least in the first place. Imagine, you know, my brother was getting married, my sister had to go to Karachi company. It's an example from Islamabad, from Pakistan. And she went there, she came back and she said, you know, the environment is not such as if, you know, we could go around and roam around in Karachi company, and I didn't really feel comfortable. So I had to come back. She might not have shared the entire thing with me, but that's exactly what happened probably 3 days ago. So we really need safer environments, that's one. Now what the debate is most of the time that they say that because of the physical attributes, you know, the male will always dominate and whatnot. Now what we try to make them understand is that it's not about the physical attributes, but rather how you can contribute with your brain, using your brain and utilizing it. So for gender equality, what initiatives do you think that we all need to take to make sure that everybody's seen or probably looked upon as same, you know, not different?
So you're talking about the literate community, but Hashu Foundation serves the underserved areas all across Pakistan. And just imagine when we go to those areas and the kind of challenges we face. So we have a very holistic and a very tested approach where we onboard the community leaders, where we onboard the elders. Whatever intervention we take for the women, we onboard everybody. Like Fatma said, the men needs to be educated as well. So this is how we implement our strategies. We onboard all the community members, be it male, female. It doesn't matter if the intervention is only meant for the women. So this is how we can actually do impactful. This is how we can
what sort of grooming, it does not matter how many times you tell them you need to behave around women, you really need to make sure apni aankhein niche rakhe and whatnot. You keep on telling them, it's just that they're not doing it, so there needs to be a way that we need to figure it out.
So you'll be surprised, even in cities like Islamabad, men need to be sensitized time and again. You need to reinforce that message that females around you, they need to be safe. These are the measures, these are the protocols, these are the formalities that need to be taken care of. So likewise, when we go to the communities, when we talk to the elders or the men of the family, of the women that we intend to deliver the trainings or do the awareness sessions. So we talk to them and we make them important and a significant component of those trainings. We engage them to witness what we are delivering and the impact of those trainings. And when they see that our women are safe and yet they are earning and yet they are being economically empowered, and they feel all those cultural barriers and all those stigmas that they have in their mind, that our women cannot go out, they cannot reach the market, they cannot do this because people will say this, that, and yet when they see that our women are safe, they are yet earning, they are respectable, and this actually contributes to the factor that you are saying.
I think this is a behavioral change that we would like to instill in our masses, and obviously behavioral change is not very easy to attain. It requires a lot of effort and it requires a lot of time, because you have to unlearn a lot of cultural patterns that you have been learning over the years, over the generations, and it takes a lot of time. So Ms. Fatma, now moving on to you, because Shehzad mentioned something very important, and he said that the concept of providing safety to the women out there, and we see that in South Asian culture, the concept of safety is linked to the honor, right? So a lot of women do not have access to, the outside world, because their household people feel that it's not a safe environment there. So, and it is again linked to the concept of honor, right?
And they're not even wrong with that, because, I just give you an example. Even my sister who traveled from UK wasn't comfortable in being around in Karachi company.
Right, and also obviously, when we are unlearning the generational patterns, there's a lot that needs to be done. So obviously when we talk about behavioral change, so we need to change the behavior of people around us or the environment around us, right? So, with the conversations on the feminism, with the conversations on the women empowerment, and with the Safe City projects that have been installed across the cities in Pakistan, what sort of conversations do you think we need to have further in order to empower the women more and try to create a safe environment for them, and in conjunction with the concept of the honor and the honesty, and that has been going on? So what is your view?
So we've been having, thank you very much for pointing it out, we've been having a lot of conversation around what should be done. So now I think we need to shift the conversation around what is not to be done, what is not to be tolerated, what is not to be spoken around the women, how you have not to be behaved around the women. For example, like you have mentioned Karachi company, which is the G9 Markaz of Islamabad, and a very well populated and busy and known to be a very so economical. so it's an economical market for the masses of Islamabad. It's not the elite market, right?
Very accessible market.
Yeah, right? So accessible for everyone, right? So that market has it has changed over the years. We used to travel daily to that market.
Because we used to buy our clothes. That's what we were affording at that point of time. It was an everyday affair for us.
Yeah. So it's like, but it's like now it's really important that we need to make conversations around how you do not have to behave in the market, how you do not have to see or talk or make certain comments. I mean, catcalling is just the simplest thing that
Or snide remarks that men pass. Yes.
the remarks that you pass, or even if you're talking to somebody, even you're talking to a group of friends as male friends, there are certain things that you have not to talk about.
Exactly.
So it's like, this is how important it is now.
So let us take it to a point where, I don't know. So obviously, ladies and gentlemen, it's my responsibility to ask these questions, and let's see what the power woman over here will say. Now, don't you think that we really need to have this conversation that, okay, in order to provide that secure environment for women, probably with the advent of TikTok, Facebook, and all these social media platforms where we see so much of fashion going on, different types of fashions and whatnot. True. Do you think that women, probably, if they dress more sensibly, they can create that safe environment around themselves? Do you think that can actually happen?
So frankly, no, because you see how I am dressed, right?
Alhamdulillah.
But I get a lot of catcalling as
and
well.
That might be probably because I posed that question to you.
So basically, I get a lot of catcalling as well.
Still?
So yeah.
Yeah,
I do.
so I mean the concept
So
again.
it's not the dress.
Exactly, it's the eyes
probably
and it's
the eyes
haya.
and our mentality and how men are.
And the concept of
Sharm hi aa jati
haya,
kabhi
that is, yes, I mean, and then we have to revert back to our prophetic era if we want to talk about women empowerment more. But Dr. Erez, now let's move on to you. So we've seen
I think
that
she even wants to contribute to the conversation that
Yeah,
we were
yeah,
having
especially
earlier as well. Please go ahead.
how women dress.
Yeah.
You certainly you want to answer that, and you can answer that. But I would also like you to point out the fact that the concept or the profession of caregiving. So, for example, let's talk about the nursing, right? So it is heavily populated by the women because women are natural caregivers and they have this womanhood and the softness or gentleness inside them. So they are taking care of the kids and having this concept. But now there's a lot of literature which is pointing, if we have to induce the behavioral change, we also need to take men into this profession, right? So that they can also be instilled with the values of gentleness and how to, be invested more with the kids, because that requires a certain sensibility, that requires a certain amount of gentleness and softness, right?
True.
So what do you have to say about it, and obviously, your contribution towards
Well,
this?
first of all, I would like to say that this concept of International Women's Day is not anti-man day.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
and I would like to appreciate the men who have helped us in our careers. I think all of my colleagues will also agree
Thank you
that
so
a
much.
lot of men have played a big part in that as well, especially in our society.
Alhamdulillah.
So I would like to thank the men for that.
I'm feeling insecure, honestly.
Right. You talked about nursing, and the trend is changing. More men are coming into this profession as well. Whereas it comes what we're discussing, a safe environment for women, we need to educate the society. I think to a point we've educated the women about what's right, what's wrong, when they feel uncomfortable, to point it, and firstly is to stay quiet. I mean, when I was earlier in my career, I would never have pointed out anything wrong that way, because I didn't want to make a fuss. Maybe I would be blamed for it.
Oh, yes.
You know,
Victim
like you
blaming.
said, well, how are you dressed? How are you behaving? So we need to, we've changed that to a lot. We've educated the women. One of my point of discussion always at my workplace is that let's start educating the boys now. You know, let them know what's wrong. Let them know. And in healthcare, it's very difficult because you're working very closely, right? It's not like an office where the female is sitting here and the man is sitting there. They're working in the OT, you're very close together. Nursing, in nursing, you're dealing with male patients, you're dealing with female patients. So you have to, like, it's a very thin line, right? So you have to definitely, we've educated the girls, and now the next point is to educate the men.
Exactly. And in addition to this, let me add this over here, because I still remember that when I was in Beria College, I was studying till grade 5, it was co-education. Then afterwards, grade 5, we were sent to the boys' side, and then there was this girls' side. Now, for spending a lot of years at boys' side, then we were back in university, and it was co-education again. Hey, and I still remember, Madam Shazia, if you're out there, thank you so much for contributing to the men that we are today, because she made it possible for all of us to be able to talk, communicate, and that too without any hesitation, and all of that psyche which boys would always have. Do you think that co-education can actually be a vital solution for all of us to actually know how to respect women? Because imagine that for all of those boys who've never ever been around women or girls, they certainly will have no idea.
I believe in coexistence. Of course, you cannot live in isolation. Men, women, we are integral component of the society. So we need to be brought up together, and there this component of sensitization and education comes into play. That if you don't educate the child from since he's a child or she's a child, how they'll coexist together, how they'll respect each other, how they'll surpass all those barriers that women face today, or because of that we talk about this gender equality issues in Pakistan. Having said that, having men around and sensitized men, I am here today because of my father and my brothers.
MashaAllah.
So I know this for sure, that if this support from both the genders, it's so important for the men to excel as well as for the women to excel. So if a man, he doesn't have support of his women, be it the sisters or the mother or the wife, he cannot do well in his life.
Yes, yes. And Ms. Mavish, we've also seen that, and there's a lot of criticism that is leveled, especially in the feminist studies, that lots of women who belong to posh areas, who belong to urban areas, they're advocating for the problems of the women who are residing in the maybe rural areas, who do not even have the same problems as the women who are living in the urban areas, right? And this is the criticism that has also been leveled. For example, the white women, they have a different problem as compared to women of the third world countries, right? So when you talk about feminism, or when you talk about women empowerment, so it's not a very holistic concept, right? It is rooted in different cultures of a different societies. So we have different problems as compared to the women of, urban, rural areas, and then rural areas have other particular cultures and contexts, right? So your organization has been undertaking some of the projects regarding women empowerment, and Honeybee project is one of that. So would you mind elaborating what is it about?
Sure, I would love to elaborate on that. And here again, our integrated approach is the key to this success in implementing those projects. So in our Honeybee project, we trained our women clusters in the underserved areas to produce honey.
Would you mind highlighting which areas were those?
So areas of KP and GB.
Okay.
So and then that was actually a project, but once the project ended, we didn't leave those women there, that we have delivered the trainings and that's it for us. We connected them to our startup, and the startup takes all the honey from them and it supplies them to our hotels all across Pakistan.
Wow.
So that is the supply.
We are actually eating organic honey whenever we go to your hotels.
Yes,
wow, I never knew that.
and sorry, the honey that's been produced by women groups.
Wow.
That is the amazing part of.
And there's so many types of honey. The last time I went, I was like, yaar, itna shahad kahan se aata hai? I think it's interesting.
And see, so these women, and when men see that our women are economically equipped and they are delivering, so that brings
a change.
A change.
In a household, you will see how the kids are, more polished. They're going to better schools and whatnot, and that's what women do, and that's why we love women wherever they may probably be.
So
yes.
To add to your question, the challenges that rural women or the women of underserved areas, they are different from the white women or the women from these
posh areas.
Posh areas.
Yes. Working women.
Even here, women face challenge to access market, to reach the right vendor, or to reach that right for all that procurement process, right? Same is the case in the underserved areas. I'll quote you another example, a recent example. A woman reached out to us that she was part of our project, that she has an excellent produce of walnuts, but she cannot sell that because she's not allowed to go to the market. So we tested that, we found that to be very high quality, and we asked her to deliver all our products to that startup Organics Plus that again delivers it to the hotels as well as to the market. So now the men of the community, they reach out to her and they request her to sell their products on their behalf as well.
She become change agent.
So yes, this is the women empowerment. This is the change that we see, we deliver, we create impact with.
Exactly, and that's the kind of impact that we certainly require with 48% of the population. Imagine that we can still do wonders. I'll move back to Dr. Reej over here. And what I would like to ask about is now, because we're pinpointing problems and then you're giving solutions, I think it's a lovely conversation. Now imagine, what I've seen is that, when we do see women empowering themselves, now unfortunately those women who certainly didn't get any sort of support from their peers, husbands, brothers, or whosoever, and alhamdulillah they were able to achieve what they wanted to achieve in their life. We have seen that unfortunately in probably lesser percentage or higher percentage, still I do not have that data with me, but I've seen how, you know, male ego is so fragile and that they will have problems that now my wife's earning too much and whatnot. And
a
they're
high status,
uneducated
yes.
and jahil friends. I'm sorry but I have to say this, but वो मियाँ के जाहिल दोस्त, उर्दू में कहना बड़ा ज़रूरी था कि लोगों को समझ आए कि उसी मियाँ के जाहिल दोस्त को कहेंगे अब तो तेरी बेगम पैसे कमाती है, तू तो कुछ नहीं करता है. And you know, there's a decline in a relationship as well. How do you think that women of power, you know, because you, all of you guys, you know, how do you make sure that you certainly do not bring your relationship to a point where, you know, things of such sort are being said to
And
each
you
other?
don't entertain
Yes.
toxicity, yeah.
Well, that's very tricky. I mean, if the man has that problem, I mean, that only he can help himself. I mean, there's only so much you can do. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not that you can underplay your success. That's
True.
not fair to the woman.
True.
So, I mean, you just hope that the other person is understanding. I would suggest going to a psychologist.
Or probably talking to each other, talking to each other.
Obviously, but you know, there sometimes, I mean, this is the reality, like you said, the toxicity gets out of control because it is, the ego is there,
True,
you know, whether we like it or not. And one thing I would like to add is the mothers of men play a big role in that.
Yeah, I was about, that was the third point that I was going to raise.
The mothers, they need to educate their
And
boys.
not just the mothers of men, I think even women as well, because
Obviously.
for whatever kind of society we live in today, partially I think our mothers have contributed to women not being empowered, unfortunately.
And they have played a significant role in advocating for the patriarchal system
Yes.
because they believe that the concept of honor
Because they were
is
the ones
very
who were
strange.
docile, never spoke up.
I mean, if you talk about health-wise, I mean, if they have a girl and a boy, they'll be feeding the meat to the boy. You know, he'll get the better half of the.
maybe
Okay,
education.
another example. So I went to my village, and it's very rare that, you know, it's not on many occasions that I've been there. So I went to this family with my grandfather, and then there was this boy and a girl on the table, and the boy, you know, was sitting, you know, and the girl was already on the table, so the girl actually picked up a leg piece, you know, so this leg piece mentality exists in Pakistan.
Yes.
And the girl actually put it in her plate, and imagine that the mother came in, picked up that leg piece from her plate, put it into the boy's plate. And I was so flabbergasted and disgusted at this situation that I didn't actually had words. And then I looked at my grandfather, he was like, okay, you know, probably it's their affair, let's not get into it. So imagine it still exists, and the mothers are doing so.
Exactly, and that is why we say that the women are also contributing towards this patriarchal system and this generational trauma that needs to be broken up, and it requires a lot of courage. So Ms. Fatma, now moving on to you, and we have seen, so you know, generally in our societies and even in the, we say the Islamabad is very posh area and it's very empowered.
You know, I would want, you know, for all of them to give that solution, give a male ego wala, you know, what should we do?
Right.
Okay, so basically, yes, conversation is one thing. And if conversation is not helping or that is not happening, then I think the most important thing is that we need to, I personally believe that we need to figure out what is more important for us. So the females always prefer their families over whatever they're doing.
True, that's true.
Right. So and when we are talking about mothers contributing to the patriarchal society is because for them families are you know, they prefer their families and they would want their children to have a complete family and you know, they brought up together by the parents. So because of this, and there is no harm in compromising something for something better and generational and long term. However, while compromising, we need to understand where to stop. So like I said before, that we have been talking about a lot what to do. There's a lot we need to talk about now, what not to do.
And most of the time, you know, it goes into vengeance as well. That
Yes.
you know, nobody was supporting me then. Now look at me and
Yeah,
whatnot.
of course,
So it can be
because
really disturbing for families then.
Because that's how, you know, when she was struggling alone and then now she's in there,
Successful,
so
yeah.
she would want not to let the male partner take the, you know,
The credit.
the credit
Yeah.
or the contribution of what she is doing. But she would definitely be investing heavily towards the kids and
True.
the children. And coming to the leg piece, by the way, I am the leg piece eater in my family, and my mother always picked up the leg piece and put in my plate.
Alhamdulillah,
Right.
it's
And
wonderful.
I,
And you know, we
I
should be-
think, Shahzad, so when you talk about the solutions and when you talk about breaking this very fragile ego, or I mean dealing with that emotion particularly, so I think we also need to talk about how we can have the particular examples, not from the modern age, but from the age of our prophetic era, because we are living in Islamic
True.
society and where Islam plays an important role, right? So if we see there are lots of examples in Islam is a very progressive religion. So if you see in the prophetic era, and I think talked yesterday about it, so it was Hazrat Khatija who approached the Prophet, right? She was a widower and she was 40 years old. Hazrat Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was 25 years old, and he never said, you know, a woman older than me, a widower is approaching me, right? And he genuinely loved her, and he was living in a very polygamous society, so he never married because he was genuinely in love with Hazrat Khatija, right? And then we have this example of Hazrat Aisha. She would go to the mosque, she would pass the sermons, you know. Here we can't even imagine going to the mosque and saying something to the man without arousing the male gaze, which makes us very uncomfortable, right? So when we talk about the solutions, we do have examples from our religion, we do have examples from our Islamic tradition, so why not talk about it, right? So Ms. Mavish, do you want to add something about it?
Rather than talking about it, I'll just say that it's not easy, but the three of us sitting here, I would say we all went through different struggles, different hardships to be where we are today. We need to keep on pushing, we need to keep on doing what we are doing.
Right.
We need to stay true to our values. We need to celebrate our success so that the men around us, they acknowledge it, and that sensitization part comes into play. We need to own our mistakes, we need to learn from them and then move on.
Yeah.
We shouldn't
just don't stick yourself to that.
No. Women, I see that they take mistakes or failure too hard on themselves.
And they need to vent then as well, you know, it's really important for them to vent, because it's like emotional debate versus logical debate.
True.
Yes, absolutely.
In that case, I would say find a support system.
Yeah.
Women need to find a good support system, not a toxic one.
Where the other person can actually understand. Where the other person can actually understand.
Or maybe just provide an ear to, you know, whatever you have venting on.
And just do not give any reaction, ladies and gentlemen. That's one thing which you need to do as well. You should
and frankly, men also need that.
Yeah.
And probably I think that when men's friends contribute to that toxicity, because when the men is venting out and they are providing the solutions which are not actually the solution, but also make exaggerate the problem to the next level.
Exactly.
So at times men needs to stay quiet and let their men friends vent.
Right. So Dr. Reza wanted to add something.
There was a comment made about not reacting. You know, there's like this stereotype about how if you say something to a woman, she's going to start crying. You know, be sensitive, don't say anything, don't yell at them. We need to change as women ourselves. We need to change that concept as well. You know, I mean, we women have to do a lot of work ourselves as well.
But yeah, okay, in addition to this, there's one more thing which I would love to say. We have to share a small clip. But when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, what I've seen is, so imagine that, you know, I keep on, you know, pushing my wife. I would always give her that support that you need to do something, and she would always venture for new businesses and whatnot. And whenever she's going to earn some money, alhamdulillah, earn some profit, it's just that she was never able to spend it on me. I mean, I don't know, she never had that heart. We will talk about it, but ladies and gentlemen, we have a small rich tribute to share with you guys, you know, for all of those women who are in uniform. Please go ahead, let's take a good look, and when you guys will come back, let's talk about this as well. On a lighter note, International Women's Day today. I think we're coming. Yes, I think we're going to wait for it as well. But before we do that,
I think Shahzad, it's your responsibility to provide for the house also. So
that's why I wanted to listen.
So do not ask your wife to contribute. Men are responsible for the house.
That's what I exactly wanted to listen. But you know, I think that this is where I was mistaken. That you know, when I say that if there's some profit, you know, so obviously. You as a husband, you will feel like, yaar, koi gift aayega. Acha, so probably, you know, some perfume, some cologne and whatnot. So where the feeling part of it is, I think obviously the responsibility is ours, and that is something which Allah has bestowed upon us as well. Go ahead, take a look at this, and once you guys will come back, we will get this conversation sorted. Go ahead.
Pakistan is a leader in championing women peacekeepers and an example for other troop contributors.
रोके न कभी तो रुक ना पाए कर ले खुद से ये चोरियों की जंजीर को तो
एक साल से हम लोग इधर डीएसपी के तौर पर सर्व कर रहे हैं, किसी को कोई शिकायत नहीं आई। इस तरह के वाकयात हमने 3 पूरे निभाए हैं। आप लोग को हम पे पूरा ट्रस्ट होना चाहिए।
मुश्किल रास्तों पे चलना भूल के सारे लोग याद तेरे हमको ये बताए जीत का है आजाद दुनिया पर जो भी और है साथ रब हर कदम।
Okay, and that was a wonderful visual representation of true women empowerment in Pakistan. We see that there are so many household names that we are so proud to be associated with, and we've seen their examples. For example, Maryam Mukhtar, she was the first female fighter pilot of Pakistan, not just Pakistan, but in the entire Asia, and we were so proud to have her achievement here. And I think there are countless such examples. So it's not just the women who have made their names in the media. There are also women in your household level, how they're contributing, how they're celebrating, and how they're again contributing towards a very big cause. And when we talk about women empowerment, so at the end of this program, we would like all of our 3 respected and wonderful guests here to share their messages regarding women empowerment. What does it mean to have this celebrating the womanhood, and what would they like to say on this International Women's Day that happens to be on 8th of March? Ms. Mavich, please go ahead.
So the same message, keep on pushing, keep on investing in yourself, keep on building your skills. There are free resources, there are mentors available, there's good advice available. Reach out to the people who have made it, take advice from them. I've seen women not building their portfolios, not doing more courses, not investing in themselves, so they need to do that more. And like I said, own your success. If there's failure, don't worry about it. Move on.
Educate. Yes. Wonderful.
Right, Ms. Fatma.
Thank you very much. I think the most important is to be balanced with whatever we are doing. We as women always invest emotionally a lot in whatever we do.
Right.
So I have recently learned that how to balance it. So I have started balancing it out now. And secondly, that I would request the male of our society to be more considerate and try not to feel that if any women of your family or anyone around you is more capable, it's not a competition with you.
Thank you so much.
It's a compliment to you.
True.
Whatever you are doing, her contribution is going to complement that to a success together.
That's exactly what you need as well. Dr. Saiba, please.
I would always tell all the girls to be strong, believe in themselves, and there's nothing that they cannot do. And this concept that if you have to work, you have to become a man. No, do it as a girl, as a woman. Do it with your own flair.
Yes.
Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful to have you over here next year when we come together. Obviously, it's not just about one day, it's just to create that ripple effect, so there are people who talk about it, there's more awareness. But Haja, what about you? What's your message today?
Of course, and I was about to say that, and I think celebrating womanhood, so people have this, obsession with the long-term goals, right? Finding a very long-term goal, what is the purpose of the existence, etc., etc. Not everyone is able to figure that out because that requires a very deep introspection. But I think as a woman, it's just the little contribution that you do to your society, to your environment that always count, right? Maybe you are helping someone who's in immense need, or maybe you are helping with someone destitute. it's the small things that you are doing, you're contributing towards the society, and that helps you create a sort of, like you mentioned, a ripple effect that will, because someone is going to remember the kindness or the way that you invested in them, and then they might try to invest in another person, right? So what goes around comes around. This is how the cycle of the kindness continues around, and this is the circle that we certainly want to create in our society, because this is something that our society, that a Mother Earth always needs, because the concept of the earth, we are linking it to the feminine energy, right? Mother Earth, right? So make sure that you're always contributing positively and you are doing something that helps you create a better person.
Exactly. Thank you so much for such a wonderful message. And towards the end, ladies and gentlemen, the only thing that I'm going to say is that I still recognize every single day that the effort the women of my house make, may it be my mother, may it be my wife, may it be my daughters, may it be my sisters, and which is why, alhamdulillah, I actually thank Allah Almighty for giving me all of these women in my life, because without them I might not have been successful. Imagine I'm going to share this story for everybody who's out there, and it does not have to do anything with male ego. There was this one car which I loved the most. It was outside my house. You know, somebody brought it to my place and said, hey, you know what, do you want to buy it? Because you've been talking about it. And I said, I do not have any money as of on me, and so I cannot do that. My sisters were there, luckily. They saw the car, and I got back in and they asked me, are you going to buy the car? And I was like, you know, I do not have any money up here right now, so, you know, probably when I'll have it, I'll buy it. Next thing I know, the very next day, all of my 5 sisters collected money, gave me their money, and I'm driving their car today as well. So for a lot of things that we do today, ladies and gentlemen, is because of the women. Every day when we dress up, every day whatever we're doing is because of women. So for all of those women who are out there, please make sure that you have your own vibe. You know, always have your own vibe, you know, have your own charisma, and never
be
let it down.
authentic to yourself.
Yes.
You know, do not try to run along in the competition, because then you're going to lose a vital aspect of you, and that is not going to turn out very well, right? So happy International Women's Day to all of our wonderful ladies who contributed to this wonderful discussion that we had, and we will continue celebrating womanhood, because obviously this is the need of the hour. So with that, we are bidding you farewell. Allah Hafiz. Until next time, it's a goodbye and good morning.
Jummah Mubarak.